Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Monday edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. We're recording this on Monday, and you know what? I'm going to put it up on a Monday, Mary Kay. It's the Hey Mary Kay edition of the Orange and Brown Talk podcast, where our Football Insider subscribers send in their questions. Mary Kay answers them as best she can, and let's just start here. Scott from Columbus is thinking about Joe Woods, Mary Kay. Hey, Mary Kay, the last two games have been the best this defense has looked all year. This seems to happen every year, where they look terrible all season and then good at the end of the year to make us think they'll be good next year. Do you think this will happen again, or is Joe Woods still in trouble?
Well, I think they're going to take a long, hard look at it, but I do think that it helps that they have played better, and I think they're going to be really evaluating how they play over these last three games. They will have some opportunities to see some different kinds of players, some different kinds of offenses, and this will be another chance for them to go out there and play some good defense and for Joe Woods to prove that he deserves to be back. Now, I think one thing that will help him in recent weeks, if you have noticed, Myles Garrett has really been going to bat for Joe Woods. Not just blatantly when I asked him about it the other day, and he said, yeah, we do what he says, and he's the man. But just also in more subtle ways, like after this past game, he just said, the coaches are calling great calls and then we have to go out and execute them. So I think he's really been going to bat for Joe, and I think that will help a lot. I mean, when your best defensive player is supporting the defensive coaching staff, then I think that is very, very meaningful. So it's something to keep an eye on, because I know that I'm sure there are other players that feel that they could be used differently, but that doesn't necessarily have to be a deal breaker for the coaching staff. It can be, let's get together and talk about this. Let's work through this. So again, it's something that will be very, very closely evaluated and looked at. And I can't say right now it's 60% he's gone and 40% he's back. But I do think it's something that they will take a good long look at.
I think it's very interesting that Myles has been so outspoken too. And I thought so like you said, got asked about it directly on Thursday last week, but then he wasn't asked about it directly on Saturday, but he still brought up Joe Woods and spoke well of Joe Woods and the scheme. I thought that was very interesting too.
Mm-hmm, yeah. And it's something that wasn't happening before last week. I mean, it just really wasn't happening before last week. We were hearing little rumblings and whispers of, well, this adjustment isn't happening and this is not going the way that we think it should. And, that was leading me to believe that perhaps there was a little bit of a mutiny, or those guys had jumped Joe Woods' ship. But now with Myles coming out so strongly that way, I think that it could really help Joe's cause.
So the other thing I wanted to ask about, this is sort of akin to the Baker Mayfield discussion a few years ago when he played so well at the end of 2020. And you pointed out, yeah, but look at who he played. Is there part of this too where the Browns have to make sure they take a look at this and see, these performances have come against Tyler Huntley, is it Brandon Allen? Kyle Allen. One of the Allens at quarterback, Kyle Allen. And, I know we're not supposed to say this, but Tom Brady and the Bucs offense hasn't exactly been lighting the world on fire recently. It hasn't really – these performances haven't come against the best of the best, or even really close to it. And the one game they did play against Cincinnati, they played well early, but also they did get beat, and they did give up some pretty big plays to guys who weren't T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd.
Yeah, I think that has something to do with it. You have to be able to beat the Joe Burrows. You have to be able to beat the Patrick Mahomes and the Josh Allens. That's what this is all about. So I do think that will be taken into account when you throw every single thing into the hopper. The level of competition will be meaningful. And this season, especially early on, they were having trouble beating very marginal quarterbacks, right? I mean, Joe Flacco, Marcus Mariota, right? I mean, they really had a difficult time doing that, and it really cost them this season. It cost them a shot at the playoffs. They should be contending for the playoffs right now. These last 3 games should be very, very meaningful. And of course, we know they're not. So all of those things will be looked at. The other things that will be looked at, Dan, will be all of the things that happened to this defense this year. And I think those things are significant too. Anthony Walker went out early. Jacob Phillips replaced him, and then he went out for this season. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah missed games, and now he's missing the final 4 of the season. Jadeveon Clowney missed 3 or 4 games. Miles flipped his car and wasn't himself. Denzel Ward, for whatever reason, did not play his best ball this year. And some of the guys not playing their best ball, could be traced directly to, hey, are they being used right? Is the scheme favoring what they can do? Are they playing enough man? Are they playing enough zone? Are they giving enough help over the top on a receiver? So all of these things really have to be evaluated, but I do think that there were a lot of extenuating circumstances on this defense this year that led to some of the lackluster or subpar performances that we saw. There were very few times when everybody was out there together healthy. I mean, it just almost never happened. And there were a lot of really, really, really good guys that were compromised this year, and that hurt.
Okay, let's stick with the defense here.